After reading not dozens, but hundreds of Common App essays over the past few years, me, my co-founder, Jeffrey Yu, as well as another Yale student, Tina Huang, decided to develop this rubric in order to help students like yourselves get into your dream school. This tool is meant to help with all college essays. I'm talking the Common App essay, supplementals, the UC personal insight questions, longer essays like for Georgetown, MIT, short responses for USC, Stanford, you name it, everything. Before we begin, quick little introduction. I'm Kevin Zhen, Yale 2020 grad, and one of the co-founders of the Elevated School. Last season was particularly sensational for us since we managed to help students from all kinds of backgrounds. I'm talking first-gen, low-income students, middle-class Americans, students who attend elite private boarding schools, private international schools all across the world. We help these guys get into every single Ivy League school. In fact, today we're going to be talking about how exactly you guys should be using this rubric depending on your own personal background. Before we begin, if you guys could just take a moment to like this video, that would really help us in our mission of spreading this quality educational content to students all across the world. Thank you so much. Let us begin. Our rubric has 6 criteria. Because so many of the essays that we read were rather bland, we decided to use this acronym V-SPICE to help you guys remember. V is for vulnerability, S is for selflessness, P, perseverance, I, initiative, C, curiosity, and E is for expression. By the way, for your convenience, we've attached this rubric in the description to this video as well as in the comment section below. Some of these criteria are rather self-explanatory, but others not so much. For instance, we all know what selflessness and perseverance looks like, but what exactly does expression and vulnerability mean? How do we write about that? Let's start with vulnerability. If you take a look at 3 and 4, it says, vulnerability shown at least once in a powerful manner. Reader can effectively feel the author's intention and emotion at each stage of their experience. 4 says, not only did the applicant discuss their vulnerability in an elegant, inspiring way, but they generated profound insights into their experience about how they plan to shape the future. Now, that's all nice and dandy, but how do you actually showcase that? Well, one of the simplest, most effective ways is to talk about your failures. That's right, your setbacks, not your successes. Why? Well, not only does this humanize you and prevent you from over-bragging, people are also much more naturally, almost magnetically drawn to stories about overcoming setbacks. This is also a really phenomenal way to incorporate P, or perseverance. But be careful, there are definitely some cliche topics here that we're going to want to avoid. Overcoming sports injuries or musical performance, rejections, I'd steer clear from those. Now, stories about overcoming academic challenges or obstacles are very good. So are narratives about entrepreneurship and product development, particularly if you're building something that benefits the community. That's also a brilliant way to tie in S for selflessness and E, expression. In general, you don't want to be overly vulnerable. I'd say don't go for a 10 out of 10 on the vulnerability scale, but more of like a 6 out of 10. My professional advice is to also avoid some of the more controversial topics, like battling your own mental health as well as domestic violence, abuse, etc. However, if you've started a campaign or initiative to help others who are struggling with these issues overcome them, that would actually be a really magnificent essay topic. A final note is that most students tend to opt for writing a personal, vulnerable story in their Common App. For those of you first-generation student immigrants, this is not just the perfect opportunity to discuss your own family struggles, your personal background, but more importantly, how you overcame them. Remember guys, ultimately the admissions officer is not interested in hearing about your problems, they are interested in hearing about your solutions. Since selflessness and perseverance are rather obvious, let's move on to I, initiative. Under 3 for I, the rubric says, essay successfully communicates the author's initiative in an honest, compelling manner, has successfully made us root for them. And 4 says, essay captures initiative while being inspiring and personal. Reader can see the author's initiative, leadership also uplifts others. Another way of viewing initiative is to simply consider proactivity. So consider a time when you decided to make a change in your community. This can be a tangible physical change like designing and building and distributing drone kits to help get kids in your district interested in engineering. or it could be an intangible social change, like designing and launching a social media campaign against anti-gun laws after there was a school shooting nearby. As the rubric mentioned, it's quite common to combine initiative with selflessness. Although there are definitely cases where you can just talk about your own personal initiative, like a time when you decided to watch every single Wes Anderson movie, or a time when you decided to read every single Toni Morrison book. Which brings us to our next letter, C. Curiosity. If you find yourself from a more privileged background without a crazy story to tell, this letter is for you. Tell us stories about when you plunged down an academic rabbit hole and just learned a ton about an intellectual topic that made you lose track of time. For instance, if you love literature, maybe you spent an entire summer reading every kind of novel that featured magical realism. Or if you love astrophysics and photography, maybe you drove out in the middle of the night and photographed constellations for an entire summer. You get bonus points if you can relate this to your intended major too. Now, the more uniquely you can showcase your curiosity or initiative, the better. For 3, the rubric says, essay effectively describes the student's creativity in a personal and original way, including the thought process and inspiration behind their choices. And for 4, it says essay contains not just novel solutions to problems in the applicant's life, as well as creative insights into the experience, but also communicates this in a refreshing, original manner. So let's break this down. Expression is just another way of saying ingenuity or creativity. But the most important thing is that we don't just want you to showcase your creativity in the way that you serve your community or in the passion projects you build, but also in the way that you structure and write your essay. You guys have probably heard of some of these really famous college essays, like the viral letter S TikTok essay or the crime scene missing person essay. And if you haven't, don't fret. I've also attached them for your reference in the description and in the comment section below. Of course, these essays, they carry a certain amount of risk, but when executed well, the reward is very, very high. And finally, if you can make the contents complement the form, you deserve it all. Like, imagine if that crime scene missing person report essay also talked about the student's intellectual interest in criminal psychology. This video is coming to a close, but wait, don't go. There is one final crucial piece of information. This rubric was developed in such a way to make sure that you hit all of these notes across all of your essays. So if you demonstrate vulnerability, selflessness, perseverance in your Common App, you better make sure to cover initiative, curiosity, expression in your supplements. Don't only showcase selflessness without curiosity, creativity without initiative. Balance. That is the whole reason we decided to make this rubric, to make sure that you guys have all of your bases covered. All right, my virtual little sibling, that is it for today. Stop watching, start writing. Let us know if we can help with anything. We are here for you. Thanks for watching and catch you at the next one.